afternoon, and welcome to our Inservice. This afternoon, we are going to be discussing 3 strategies to support literacy for English language learners. My name is Sara Manning. In front of you, you have a notes page that will help you follow along with our presentation today. So let's get started. The first thing you need to know is what is an English language learner. An English language learner, or an ELL, are those students who speak English as a non-native language, meaning they may not speak English primarily at home. According to our text, 80% of children will be considered English language learners through middle and high school, despite being in the elementary school since kindergarten. This just depends on their varying use of the English language. In many of our classrooms, English language learners are rapidly growing, which is requiring teachers to instruct these students to create and deliver lessons that effectively teach content in the English language while promoting student engagement. So this presentation is going to cover 3 strategies to promote that concept. The next step we need to understand, other than an English language learner, is what is diversity and how do we relate to diversity in the classroom. Diversity is that mixed population of students based on their origin or their race or religion or their socioeconomic background, and how we as educators reach those learners. Diverse students can be culturally and linguistically diverse, which requires a combination of nurturing and a rigor that is essential to educating all of the student population. By doing this, we target students and support those needs to help them meet achievement goals. By creating a safe, welcoming environment with a well-structured routine, we are creating an environment with a high challenge and high area of support to help those students be successful. What you're looking at on this slide is the demographics of KS Elementary School. So it is covering grades K through 5. And this graph goes all the way back to 1989, and you can tell that the first 4 years they were not specified, but starting in 1994 is when you really start to see the breakdown of those different ethnicities. Looking at the column that is for 2013, there were 776 students enrolled at this time. 45.4% of them were white, 32% were African American, 4.5% were Asian, 10.4% were Hispanic, and 7.2% was more than one race. So based on the needs of the school is how we can implement these strategies in our classrooms. This particular graph is a little bit more challenging to read than the last one. This is for the 2015 school year for all of Cobb County student population. So this graph is covering pre-K through 12th grade. And enrolled in Cobb County last year was 111,330 total students. A little bit of breakdown of that 111,000. Over 21,000 were Hispanic, over 35,000 were African American, over 5,000 were Asian, and over 44,000 were white. Based on the information we've seen in the last few slides, the population of our schools are very diverse, and so in order to meet the needs of those English language learners, we are challenged to create a high challenged environment with high levels of support to provide that high level of learning potential. This can be done across the curriculum, not just in literacy, by scaffolding instruction for those ELLs. Scaffolding can be done through modeling, it can be done in small group, it can be done with one-on-one, but as long as we're providing those students with clear expectations and clear goals, we're helping to set them up for success. One question question that I ask you is, how can this be done with ELA? Well, with ELA, or English Language Arts, this can be done with note-taking. This can be done with journaling. This can be done using graphic organizers to support those students. We can use vocabulary games. We could prompt students with sentence starters. So there's so many options that we can use to, again, create that high challenge and high support in the classroom, just like this graph on this slide shows you. I'm going to give you all at your tables just one moment to discuss how you as a grade level or a team can use these strategies that we've talked about so far. Okay, some of the things you may have come up with are collaboration, using your ESL teacher, or potentially having a mentor teacher. These are 3 great resources that are in every school building. Through collaboration, we're able to use resources and experience of others to implement strategies to meet the needs of our students that we may not have recognized in our own teaching. Collaboration is where we are able to share with our team. Your ESOL teacher is the one who is working directly with these ELL students and getting them to meet grade level standards. A mentor teacher is something that maybe a new teacher would use, who is a first-year teacher, or if you're new to a building, and they can be a great resource because they've been where you are. With teaching, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. We can share ideas, and it creates a synergy among teammates and helps us all to be successful. Okay, now we get to the nitty-gritty of today's in-service, and we get to talk about the 3 strategies that specifically are going to help our English language learners. The first one we're going to discuss today is read-alouds. The second one will be process writing. And the last strategy we're going to discuss is phonemic awareness and phonics. Our first strategy to support literacy for English language learners is read-alouds. Read-alouds support oral language development. I know that my students would much rather listen to me read a book aloud to them than them read independently at their desk. When I read aloud, I can quickly tell who's engaged in my reading and who is not. Read-alouds model that reading is fun. This can be done in small groups, and when you're working in small groups, this is a great time for those struggling readers or those English language learners to listen to their peers and listen to how they read and listen to their miscues or what they do well. A small group is also a great time, or even when the teacher is conducting a read-aloud, to use those pre-selected texts. Maybe pick a higher level chapter book that doesn't meet every student's reading level, or maybe have the students pick a book, or have the class vote on a book that they are particularly interested in. Through read-alouds, it's a great way to monitor student progress. Have those individual ELL students read to you. Do a running record while they're reading out loud. Do a fluency while they're reading aloud. Talk to them about what they're reading. A great way to integrate technology with a read aloud is to have the students record themselves reading aloud and play it back to them during part of a reading workshop or a reading rotation. I know that in my classroom I conduct the Daily 5, where students can either read with a partner, they can read to self, and so that would be a great way to pull out an iPad and have them read a story where they can hear themselves later. What we're going to see here is a quick little clip of a kindergarten teacher conducting a read aloud with her class. Look at what she's doing. What do you notice about her actions? Does she question the students? And would you do anything differently?
My name is Jamie Landell. I teach kindergarten at Ruby Duncan Elementary School in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I have 21 amazing kindergarten students in my classroom. Ooh, what do you see? Whose mother is that?
Elephant.
The elephant's mother. How she bellows at Jamie. She threatens to charge. His heart beats hard as the beast. It's different from the other programs I've done before because it gets in depth of the book, and it's a week-long activity with the book. It's not just a read aloud and done. You really get into it, and you have a lot of different activities with it, and it really challenges the students.
Sudden feet strike a beat, like a drum on the ground. The quiet plains ring with an echoing sound.
As the lesson went on, I went back to the text, and we looked at the illustration and the text and the complexity of the text, and I asked them questions.
Whose mom do you think that is? Whose mother's coming? Kamila, whose mother's coming? Jamie's mother's coming? Why would you think it's Jamie's mother?
I'm asking them to talk to their buddies to dig deeper into the author's text, understand the feelings that Jamie is feeling at this point. The author's vocabulary is pretty complex, so when the students talk to their buddy, I want them to be able to ensure each other that they know how Jamie feels and what's happening, and sort of have them feel the same feelings that the character's feeling.
And be brave.
Throughout the story, we are illustrating pictures on a sentence strip to sequence the events, and the culminating task for the students will be to use the sentence strip to retell the story. So at certain points in the book, I'll stop the class and illustrate for them to see and review what we have done so far.
Add more detail. Tell me the story.
They also use their complete sentences, and sometimes we bring in the aspect of writing with it, and have them using their own words.
Where did you stop?
The difference between the RAP program and just a regular normal read aloud is that students are building their vocabulary. They're getting excited about it, and I see them using these words, and I see them using the actions and writing about these stories on their own.
The next strategy to support literacy for English language learners is process writing. And several of you may be familiar with this because right off the bat you think, oh, the writing process. You're absolutely right. We need to teach students the writing process, which begins with pre-writing and then drafting, revising, editing, and publishing. We need to model these steps for students, and this can be done in several ways. One of the ways that relates to process writing is the writer's workshop. This is important because students learn to write by writing. And so the writer's workshop was developed by Lucy Calkins, and it's similar to a reading workshop in that it teaches writing using the workshop method. This means that students are given several opportunities to write in a variety of genres and helps them to foster a love of writing. You can conduct the writing workshop by differentiating for your students and gearing the instruction based on information gathered in that workshop. If you look at the handout in front of you, while you're conducting the writer's workshop, you can easily conference with your students. The conference handout that you have monitors, are they meeting the needs? Are they going above? Are they missing key components of the writing process? Going back to the writer's workshop, students can gain a love of writing by choosing topics themselves. Have them pick something they're interested in. Let them journal. Let them free write. Give them something where they can feel successful because they're interested in it. Once they've written on a topic, it's easy to provide them with a writer's checklist. This goes back to the writing process because it's that editing and revising stage that we have to encourage students to do. We have to be critics of our own work. So 2 checklists that I use in my classroom would be the COPS checklist and the ARMS checklist. The COPS writer's checklist has students looking for capitalization, organization, punctuation, and spelling, while the ARMS checklist has students add, remove, move, and substitute. So it covers both steps of that writing process. Now, when we're working with ELL students, they're definitely going to need modeling for this. So I would probably start with the ARMS and the COPS or writer's checklist, working in a small group setting, getting students to be comfortable doing it with you before they're doing it independently. Then the last stage of the writing process would be to publish their work. Once they publish their work, they can feel confident because they've already conferenced with you, they've written their paper, and they've worked to revise and edit, so they're able to publish, and then you are able to assess it with a rubric or a checklist or whatever you deem is the best method. One way to include technology in this component or this strategy would be poplet.com, and there's several other digital resources to use, but this is one of my personal favorites because it creates a web on the computer where students can simply click and then begin to type their ideas, and it's just a great way to organize their ideas digitally, and it kind of mixes things up from the traditional pencil and paper. This slide just kind of breaks down what the writing workshop might look like if you conducted it in your classroom. You'd spend about 5 minutes doing a read aloud, about 10 to 15 minutes introducing a mini lesson, maybe introducing the topic or presenting the information. The 30 to 60 minute chunk is the most critical time because that's when you're focusing on that independent writing and conferencing with students, specifically addressing that writing process. This will be your guided writing time either with groups, or you could do this with your one-on-one with your ELL learners. Then you wrap it all up in the end with that 5 to 10 minutes of sharing. Let those students get excited about what they've published and about what they've written during that time. The last strategy to support literacy for English language learners would be phonemic awareness and phonics. This is where we teach students to recognize word patterns and those spelling patterns. This can be done by introducing words using those word families, meaning they have similar beginning sounds or similar ending sounds, or they have those same spelling patterns. We can introduce these new words or build on their vocabulary using visual clues, A for apple, and show them a picture of an apple that relates to that beginning sound. This can be done across all subjects, especially when you're reading in content to help them figure out those vocabulary words or just those unknown words. You can do this also with high frequency words and studying that new vocabulary and introducing or pre-teaching vocabulary when you're about to introduce a new topic or a unit. A great way to support phonemic awareness and phonics would be apps on your iPad. There are so many free apps that students love to use on the iPad that just gets them really engaged in their learning. Some of the apps that I mentioned on the last page, one of them would be the Phonics Genius. Phonics Genius is free, and it really helps students with their articulation practice, and the students can actually record themselves, and then they can play it back and hear their own voices reading those words or groups of words. The second one is also free. It's called What's Changed. It's a skills builder. It helps students develop skills to discern the sounds and the sequence of sounds within a word. So it's having students not only identify those words, but identifying what's changed within a word. And recognizing what's changed helps them develop those vowel sounds and those consonant blends. The last one I have up here, the little blue smiley face, is called Reading for All Learners. It actually provides text, and it allows the students to read these short stories, developing those essential reading skills to build the confidence they need to read independently. And it's got engaging storylines and fun interactive features to help them get through it. And it also provides assessments for the students so the teacher can quickly monitor what has the student read, how fast did it go, and how did they do with that particular skill. So there's so many out there, but these are 3 of my favorite that really stuck out to support that phonemic awareness and learning of the phonics. Basic skills to a new reader. So let's review. So, 3 strategies you can use to support literacy for ELL students that we discussed today are read alouds. And read alouds show students that reading is fun and it supports their oral language development. The second was process writing. Process writing is also known as the writer's workshop, where we model the steps of writing and then give those students that support in their independent writing. And the last one would be phonemic awareness and phonics, which supports that word and letter recognition to carry over into their reading skills and help them meet those grade level needs. Thank you so much for being here today to discuss strategies to support literacy for English language learners. Are there any questions about what we discussed?